It was a rainy Monday morning in the city, and the streets were busier than usual. The sky was gray, and rain fell steadily, leaving the roads wet and slippery. People were moving faster than normal, trying to reach work on time. John, a 32-year-old office worker, left his apartment at 7:15 a.m. as usual. He lived in a high-rise building in the downtown area and usually took the same route to work. This morning, however, he noticed the streets were more crowded than ever. Cars were lined up bumper to bumper, and the sound of horns filled the air. John got into his silver sedan, started the engine, and turned on the windshield wipers. Visibility was limited because of the heavy rain. He adjusted his mirrors carefully and began to drive slowly, keeping a safe distance from the car ahead. He had driven this route hundreds of times before and knew the traffic patterns well. Yet today, something felt different. Drivers seemed impatient, and some were moving faster than the speed limit, trying to make it through yellow lights before they turned red. Near the intersection of Main Street and Fifth Avenue, the traffic lights turned yellow. A large blue bus carrying about 20 passengers approached the intersection from the opposite direction. Its driver, a man in his late 40s, was slightly late for his schedule and was pressing the accelerator more than usual. At the same time, a young motorcyclist wearing a black helmet and a raincoat tried to weave between the cars to avoid the traffic jam. John was following a small white hatchback. The driver of that car suddenly noticed a pedestrian stepping into the crosswalk without waiting for the signal and braked sharply. John reacted immediately and pressed his brake, but the wet asphalt made his car skid slightly. The tires struggled to find grip, and the car moved a little forward before stopping completely. Behind him, another sedan failed to notice the sudden stop. It collided lightly with John's rear bumper, producing a metallic sound that echoed down the street. The collision was minor, but it startled everyone around. John's heart was racing as he carefully checked his car for damage. The car behind him had a dented front bumper, but the driver, a woman in her mid-30s, seemed unharmed. The young motorcyclist had managed to stop safely on the sidewalk, shaking slightly from the sudden scare. The bus driver had stopped a few meters away, honking lightly and looking at the situation from his seat. The passengers were leaning out of the windows, curious and anxious. John got out of his car slowly, trying to remain calm. The motorcyclist, who had parked his bike safely on the side, approached and asked if anyone was hurt. "No one is hurt," John answered, "but we need to call the police to report this." Within 10 minutes, 2 traffic police officers arrived.
They were wearing raincoats and carrying notebooks. They asked everyone to step aside while they examined the scene. The officers carefully checked the cars, taking notes of the license plates, dents, and positions of the vehicles. They asked the drivers to provide their identification and insurance details. Witnesses were questioned, including the bus passengers and pedestrians who had seen the accident. John explained the situation calmly.